This section of the Angel Ornament tutorial will be for my absolute beginners. Experienced crocheters can consult the timestamp listed in the description below and jump in wherever you want. We're going to start by learning how to hold the hook. And there's two ways to hold the hook. And one is the knife method. Just pick it up like you would pick up a knife when you get ready to cut your meat at the dinner table. You'll have the shaft in your palm. You'll have your pointer finger on top of the shaft here. You'll have your thumb resting on the thumb rest and the other fingers just nestling and holding on to the other side of that shaft. And it makes it really quick and easy. This is my preferred method. But many people like the pencil method. And you just pick it up like you would a pencil. So this shaft will be on top of your hand. Your pointer finger again will be on the top of that shaft. Your thumb again on the thumb rest. And the shaft will be resting here on your tall finger there. And you can manipulate and do your crochet just like this. So you just try both of those methods and pick the one you like the best. Now the way we hold our yarn, we need tension on this yarn. You can't have yarn that just flops around because you won't be able to move it, maneuver it, anything else. And you can't have it too tight or you won't be able to work into those stitches. So this is how I get my tension. And there's many other ways. Your mother might have taught you something, your grandmother, your neighbor. Use the one you like best, but this is my method. I take my hand, palm up, and I slip the yarn between my little finger and my ring finger. So if you look at it like this, step one is just the yarn over my little finger. Then, still holding that yarn, I flip my hand completely over so that my palm is now down. And then I take my pointer finger and slip that under that yarn. So the back of my hand looks like this. The yarn will be over the pointer finger, under the tall finger and the ring finger, and then over the little finger. And then when I turn my hand perpendicular, I have just enough tension to make that project go so much better. You can feel as you pull through here, just a tiny little drag on it. That's what you want to feel. So let's look at that again. Our palm is down. Oh, I'm sorry. Our palm was up. Sorry, I went to the second step. Our palm is up, and we're going to slip that yarn through the little finger and the ring finger. We're going to turn our palm over. That's the second step. And then we're going to take our pointer finger and slip it under the yarn so that we have it over the pointer finger, under the tall finger and the ring finger, and over the little finger. And when you turn your hand perpendicular, you get ready to start crocheting. And generally we'll crochet like this, and we'll just manipulate this hook and manipulate our hands, and you'll see how easy that'll be. So practice those steps. Go back into this video 2 or 3 times if you need to, and you'll be able to have the proper tension. You hold the hook, you hold the yarn. Now, we're going to start this particular project with a magic ring. So I want to show you how to start a magic ring before the more experienced crocheters jump back into this video. So I do a 6-step magic ring. It's very simple, I think. I lay the yarn over the palm of my hand with this little tail end hanging down, and maybe 3 or 4 inches hanging down. And then I take the yarn and come around my fingers and up. And then I pinch the join. So here's a circle, a loop here, and I'm pinching where it joins. And then you can see the working end of the yarn that's attached to the ball, just hangs down straight behind. So I have this loop that I made off of my fingers, and I slipped that off, but I still held the join, and I have this line that goes through the loop. Then take your crochet hook and slip it under the yarn that's diagonal through that loop. And let go of everything but pinch the joint, transfer that pinch over to your left hand. And of course, this is reverse for left-handed people. And you want to hold that so that you can now find your working end of the yarn again. There'll always be a tail end and a working end. And you'll bring your working end into that hole that I explained to you. And you do one chain stitch. And this is how we do a chain stitch. And I'm pinching where everything joined there. I go down toward myself. I go back away from myself. I come up and I see the yarn is over my crochet hook. That's called a yarn over. You'll see that all the time. And now I'm in perfect position to pull that through that little loop up that was on my hook. And that is my first chain. And that is the magic circle. And we will start this angel by working into this magic circle. Let's try that again because it can be very confusing. I've simplified it as much as I can, but still confusing. So we have the palm of our hand. I have my yarn hanging over with 3 or 4 inches of the tail hanging down. I take the working end of the yarn as I'm holding the other yarn on my hand, and I come up so that they meet at the top of my hand, and I just take a pinch to keep that loop together and move it off of my hand. And I just let that working end hang down. And now I can take my crochet hook. I go under that diagonal yarn and I transfer all of that. Here's my pinch right here in my hand. I transfer that pinch over to the other hand and I'm still pinching. And now I'm going to pick up the working end of my yarn. The tail end is still here. The working end of my yarn. Get it into that hole we just learned and do 1 chain stitch. Down towards yourself, back, up, so that I have a yarn over. And now I pull that through and I have my magic ring. We're going to work into that. So now we're ready to start crocheting our angel. Let's start by listing all the materials and tools we're going to need for this. We're going to need yarn, of course, and so I have one color here. I can't really tell you what kind of yarn this is because this is a scrap yarn, but we'll need about 11 yards of this yarn. And then in this case, I used a contrasting yarn for the body of, this will be for my wings. I'm going to use a contrasting yarn, complementary yarn, for the body of my little angel. And I do know what this one is. This is Sugar and Cream in the Rose Petal colorway. Both of these are weight 4. We measure yarn in weight. It'll always say on the label. And so I have a crochet hook that's a 5mm because my label for my yarn said use 5mm, which I'm doing. You'll also need a tapestry needle with a very large eye. You'll need a scissor, and you'll need a 13-inch length of yarn, and you'll need 28-inch lengths of yarn. And we can get started. And as we said earlier, for our absolute beginners, we're going to start with a magic ring. And I'll go over this one more time because even some of our experienced crocheters might need a little update. So here's the magic ring, the beginning of the magic ring, I should say. We lay the yarn over our palm with 3 or 4 inches hanging down of a tail. We bring the working end of the yarn all the way around the back and toward the front, over the top. And where it joins together, we're going to pinch to keep that loop. We want that loop to stay open. And we can transfer this back and forth in our hand, but we just want to make sure we have that join area. So now I have my loop, the start of my magic ring, and I have the working end of my yarn hanging down behind, exactly where I want it. Now take your crochet hook, take it into that loop and under that diagonally bisecting line. I'm going to now transfer the pinch to my other hand. So I'm going to pinch with the top of my crochet hook, and I've got it all pinched there because that's where we want to start working from. We want it easily accessible. Now I leave the tail end of the yarn just flopping there, and I pick up the working end of the yarn and go into your hold and do a chain stitch. Remember, down, back, up, and through. That's one chain stitch. That's the start of our magic ring. So we're going to do 2 more because we want to get up to the height of a double crochet. And that's how we do it. We have this chain, and we're not going to count this as a stitch. We just wanted to get up to the height of the double crochets. We're going to be putting 20 double crochets into this magic ring. So this will be considered round 1. When you read a crochet pattern, they'll tell you what rounds, which rows. So you'll just watch that. So this is round 1. I'm going to make 20 double crochets into this magic ring. And so for a double crochet, I yarn over and I go into the loop. And I do yarn over again and pull it up. Now I have 3 loops on my hook. And if you notice, I'm pinching at the bottom here, and you do that to have control of your yarn. I'm going to have to pull through again. I'm going to have to pull through several of these loops, and you can't pull through if it's too tight. So I'm going to do another yarn over. Whoops. Another yarn over, and I'm going to pull through 2. Remember, we had 3 loops on our hook. I'm only pulling through 2. That leaves 2 loops on my hook, and I do yarn over and I pull through the last 2. And that's my very first double crochet. It might look like 2 because there is a 3 chain there, but we don't count that. So now we're going to go through, yarn over, go into the loop, yarn over, and pull up. That gives me 3 loops of my hook. I'm going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's 2. Oops, I didn't go through both of those. Sometimes you have to finesse. Sometimes you have to drop it and start over, just like I did. So yarn over, go into the loop, yarn over, and pull up so there's 3. Yarn over, pull through 2, very carefully, yarn over, pull through 2. Over, go into the loop, yarn over, pull up, so I have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, into the loop, yarn over, pull up, pull through 2, and pull through 2. Now, I'm not paying attention here. Oh dear. Looks like I have been talking and not paying attention. So to see how easy that is, just pull out a few stitches and go back. And I can count the stitches I do have, so I know what I've got by looking at these legs. We don't count the 3 stitch, and I see a leg here, a leg here, a leg here, so I know I've done 3. Another way to do it is to look here at the top, and I have V's, and I have a V here, a V here, a V here, 3 V's. We don't count this first one. So yarn over, into the loop, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, go into the loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. This pattern calls for 20 double crochets into that magic ring, but you'll find all sorts. You just follow your pattern. Sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 8, sometimes it's, but this is 20. And so we're going to do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. I didn't make my loop big enough because I wasn't pinching enough at the base there. Lesson learned for all of us. It doesn't matter how big this circle is because we're going to tighten that and make it smaller when we're done. That's the magic part of it. Let's see how many we have now. I don't count the chain 3, so I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I did 13, so I have 7 more to do. This will be 14. 15. 16. 17, 18, 19, and 20. Now I have 20 double crochets in my magic circle. So this is where we get to the magic of it, because we've been crocheting across the top of the tail all around the circle. So if you just take that tail and pull, it tightens this circle up into a magic circle. Now we have put a lot of stitches into that magic circle, and it's fairly bulky yarn. So our hole is not going to go down to nothing, but in this case that's exactly what we want, is to have a little bit of a hole. Usually the beauty of a magic circle is you don't have that hole, but we need to have a you'll see we're going to put things through that hole, so we want that. So then to join our round 1, we've done the 20 double crochets. We take our hook and put it into the top of the first stitch, and we're just going to do a slip stitch. And to do a slip stitch, you just do yarn over and you pull through, and then you pull through the hook, the loop on the hook. And so we've joined it, and so it's one continuous round now. And so that's round 1, and that's 20 double crochets. So for round 2, what we're going to do is 2 double crochets in every stitch that's in round 1. So we should wind up with about 40, I say about, we should wind up with 40 double crochets. So you can see we're getting this bigger. If we just did 20 around, it would be, all watered up into a little cup. So let's go into our top of our first double crochet. And we briefly talked about this, but you can see and count the stitches by the V's. That's a V on the top of every stitch. That'll be if you have single crochets, if you have double crochets, half double crochets, they all look like V's on top. So this will hold for anything you crochet, and you'll want to count. And of course, you can always count this legs, like I did earlier too. But it's just easier when you're working in the top of something to count that. So I'll go in, I'll have to do my yarn over and go into the first double crochet, and you want to get under the 2 legs of that V. So there I am, and I'll do the yarn over and I'll pull through, and I have 3 loops on my hook, and I yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and I do this again in that same hole. Yarn over, go into that same hole, yarn over, pull through, and I'll go through 2, yarn over, and go through 2 more. So in that one stitch, I have 2 double crochets. And so you'll see how that will double it, and we'll have 40 when we're done. So let's keep on going. Yarn over, go into the next V on the top of that stitch, yarn over, pull through. I've got 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. You'll find this is much easier to work this second round. First round is always the hardest, or the first row if you're working in rows. Now we've got something to hold on to. Now it makes it firmer. Yarn over, go into that stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, over, pull through 2. Yarn over, go into that same stitch, if you meet resistance, just back up and see what's happening, or pull it out a little bit and start over. Crochet is very forgiving, and you can always look at what you've done. And as I'm talking, I can see here that I have actually put 3 in one stitch, and we don't want that. So yarn over, go into the next stitch, yarn over, through. You see how quickly that we could fix that? So now I've learned my lesson. I'm going to check before I move on to the next stitch. I'll check and make sure I've done my 2 and only 2. And I checked, and I need a second one in that stitch. a little hang up on my yarn here. Forgive me. And I only have one, so let's do the second one. And you can see how this is getting bigger and bigger, because we want to be wings for our angel. Do our second one. Once you do a few of these, it becomes almost second nature. Yarn over, into the stitch, yarn over, pull through. I'll have 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. I can see my little angel forming right now. Okay, we're almost around. Through 2 and pull through 2. Now, looks like I've done 2 in that stitch, so we'll go into this stitch, do 2 more. Whoops, see, I goofed up, but I can easily pull that stitch out, and I can see that I've only got 1 stitch in that hole, so I yarn over, go into that hole, yarn over, pull through, so I have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Sometimes your yarn splits and can cause that problem. So when I get to the end and I see there's no other double crochet, the top of a double crochet to do, I need to do what we did in the last round, and I need to slip into the top of my very first stitch. I'm going to take the 2 legs and I'm going to go under the 2 legs. And you see what I mean by the 2 legs? 2 legs of the V. And I'm going to get a yarn over and I'm going to pull it through. And then I'm going to pull it through the loop on my hook. And I finished with the second round. What we're doing in round 3, it's quite a bit different than rounds 1 and 2. If you remember, in round 1, we did 20 double crochets into the magic ring we formed. And then in round 2, we did 2 double crochets into the top of each one of those double crochets. So we have 40 stitches. And I'm sitting here right now. I have joined round 2 and I have 40 stitches that we want to deal with. So we want to get from this to this cute little angel. And you can see that this little angel's wings are formed by basically folding this in half. And to do that, we'll want to make 2 large openings. They represent the wings. And then we'll have a smaller opening here that the body is going to be coming out of. And we'll have our cute little angel. So to do that, I'm going to count 14 stitches, and I'm going to skip all 14 of those stitches. And when I get to the 15th, I'm going to join that with a slip stitch, and that's going to start our shaping. Then we're going to slip stitch 5 stitches across here, not any real crochet stitches. We're just going to slip stitch to move the thread across. So that's going to take up those 5, and then, although we're not doing anything with these, the corresponding 5 will be accounted for there. And then we're going to count 14 more stitches, and we're going to join on that 15th. So if you've been counting, 15 plus 15 is 30, and then the 5 slip stitches and the 5 stitches we've avoided here is 10, so that's 40 stitches. And let me show you how we're going to do that. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So in row 15, in stitch 15, I am just going to fold this in half and take my crochet hook. Make sure I have the thread in the position I can use it in. I'm going to take that crochet hook and I'm just going to go into stitch 15, slip right under the 2 legs of the top of that double crochet, and I'll yarn over, and I will pull that through the top of the double crochet and the hook that was on, the loop that was on my hook. Oop, I don't want to snag any loose stitches, so I just carefully work it through, and there we go. So I have basically tacked that together there. So that was, we counted 14 stitches, and in the 15th we just tacked it together. So now we want to move across 5 stitches, and we'll only do that in the back here. Slip stitch again, not a real crochet stitch, just a slip stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now I'm going to count 14 more. We're going to skip 14, and we're going to slip stitch in the 15th again. So let's go. We're not counting this one because we've already used that for the slip stitch. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and here's our 15th right here. So we line them up. I take my crochet hook into the top of that double crochet, getting both of the legs on that stitch. I'll yarn over and I'll just pull through all of that. And there I've got my little angel. I've got the 2 openings. I've got a smaller opening for the body, and I've got this other opening for the wing as well. And there you have round 3. Now we have the wings of our little angel. So we are now going to take our 28-inch pieces of yarn and our 13-inch piece of yarn, and we're going to form a body out of this. And to do that, we stretch out our 13 inches and put it about in the middle, all those pieces of yarn, and we'll make a double knot, just like a plain old double knot, with nothing fancy, nothing crochet specific, just any old double knot. And now is the time to pick up that tapestry needle we asked you to have, and we're going to thread these two ends of the 13-inch yarn onto that tapestry needle. If you have trouble like I'm having here with yarn splitting, just pinch, make it as tight as you can, and come at it this way. Because that's a pretty big eye, and it will take all that yarn. There we go. So we have got our 20 strands of yarn and our 13-inch strand knotted around it, and both of those on the tapestry needle. And now we will come up through the wings, through that hole we made in the wings, up through the magic circle center, and pull it up as snug as you can. You can pinch here, pull there, so that you have, and this, all this yarn is going to be the body of the angel. Now to get the head on, is all we do is take a little bead. It doesn't have to have this little face. The one I have is a little face. These are 4mm that I'm using right now. 5mm are cute, but you might have to knot twice at the top to hold the yarn on there because the hole is bigger. So for this one, I'm using a 4mm, and you just pull it up through there. And there's our little face for our little angel. Isn't she cute? Now, snug it up so that you know she's nice and tight, and just do another knot at the base of this yarn, right at the top of her head. And you might have to manipulate this a little bit to make sure this knot is snug at the top of her head. Make it like a little, you have to work it down sometimes, closer to her head. I just move my yarn down, down, down. And there she is. And put a knot at the top. And this way you will have, be able to use this as an ornament, or you can affix a keychain. You can do almost anything with this. And she'll hang. I have everything done on my little angel except to trim up the bottom. Now I just smooth it out with my hands, and I just eyeball where I want the bottom of this. You want it smooth, you want it even, but the length of it is certainly up to you. The shorter it is, the fuller it looks. The little body. There you have it. A beautiful little angel ornament that's perfect for your tree, or for a gift, or even as a little keepsake. Whether this was your first crochet project or one of many, I'm glad you spent this time with me. If you would like the written pattern for this angel, type pattern in the comments below. And here's the bonus tip I promised you if you stayed through the whole video. Try adding a touch of glittered yarn or metallic thread for a festive sparkle. Isn't she cute? Until next time, happy crocheting!